Hi, my name is Sarah English, and I'm going to be covering broadband and home networks from our Communication Technology Update and Fundamentals book, Chapter 19. And when I first got this assignment, I was kind of bummed out because I really wanted to do something like videography or photography or gaming, which are some of my more passionate things in life. But after reading this chapter, I really understood that broadband and home network are really important because I couldn't do any of those things without it. And so that being said, we'll dive in. I picked this quote out. I found a kind of a meme thing about it because I really did enjoy hearing it because it's true. Anyone who has lost track of time when using a computer knows the propensity to dream, the urge to make dreams come true, and the tendency to miss lunch. And I know I've lost track of time probably 3 or 4 times a day just scrolling through Facebook. Anyway, I picked this picture because I really thought that this really ties together what broadband is. Broadband is a term used to describe high-speed internet. And our high-speed internet that we have now is what brings us in our home, our television, our computing, our gaming, our connecting with family through the internet and phone, our tablets, GPS. Me and my husband, we do Lyft and Uber on the side. We're doing that. Lyft wants to make, if you look at their app, they're always talking about driverless cars. All this stuff has to do with broadband. I just explained, what you do every day on broadband. You probably view pictures and watch movies. I know I do, especially on my phone. I watch movies, and I love to play those little games. So in our country, our broadband is supposed to be at 25 megabytes per second, or faster, and 3 megabytes upload. So it's 25 megabytes download and 3 megabytes upload. So the internet penetration rate, that's how many people in that country actually have the internet. So it's the percentage. So this many out of 100 have the internet in that country. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development monitors 34 countries. And in those 34 countries, there is a 70% of internet penetration rate. So basically, they're saying that out of these 34 countries, only 70% of the people have the internet or broadband. So we're going to talk about the different types of broadband. Well, first off, we're going to talk about DSL, which is digital subscriber line, and it uses the regular telephone lines to deliver broadband internet access. So this is where, and I've looked up pictures, and basically there's a central office, and that central office sends out cable up into the telephone lines, and then they go into your modem, and that's where you get your internet through your modem. And they have different types. It's a symmetrical or asymmetrical, and the asymmetrical is better because it means that you're typically downloading when you're getting on the internet, so it means that your download rate's going to be faster. Fiber to the node is a form of DSL, but it's a lot faster. And what happens with this is from the central office, the fiber goes to these nodes, and it converts it into the type of cable or telephone line that can come into the homes in the neighborhoods. This is a lot faster, but it's a lot more expensive. So it starts out about $60 to $280. So fiber to the home. Fiber to the home means that there's no node. There's no node in the middle between the central office and your home, and it goes straight to your home. But it's pretty expensive. But Google, which we all know that Google does a lot of different things, has started a project to bring it into the home. And it's in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. And they're taking it to Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, and Provo, Utah. Oh, cable modem. Cable modem is probably something all of us have in our home, wired up. Maybe, maybe not. I did a project on smartphones recently, and a lot of people are getting the internet straight off their phones nowadays. However, cable internet is still the front runner for home internet, and they use the same amount of bandwidth in the cable that only one channel would require. Companies are able to supply internet access via these cables. So they go straight through your television cable using one channel, one bandwidth that one channel would require. So it's like no skin off their nose to be able to do this for you. And it's the most affordable way to do it. Actually, me and my husband, we do it for our internet. We don't actually have cable TV. We do Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those other for our television entertainment. But we pay about $50 a month flat rate for high-speed cable internet. This is satellite internet. Satellite internet is a great alternative to cable modem internet, basically for people who live in rural areas. Basically, you're going to have to get a satellite dish, and you're going to have to hook it up to a modem, and then from there you can, use a router and everything to get your internet. Now, I've researched on the internet, and there's two different companies, Viasat, which used to be called Exceed, and HughesNet. And both of those have satellite internet services. Viasat is supposed to be the better one because it can go up to 100 megabytes per second. But that 100 megabytes per second is going to cost you $200 a month. So it depends on how much, what the cost range is for you. Now we got wireless internet, mobile internet. So we know, like, from just listening to commercials, which I see on YouTube now, the world is definitely changing, but you hear about 3G and 4G networks all the time. 4G is 100 times faster than 3G. That's why they were so excited when it came out, and they're like, 4G, LTE, this and that. It's because it's 100 times faster, and it is now the current mobile wireless internet standard. Okay, so we're going to talk about types of broadband. We got wireless, and we have wireless fixed. Wireless fixed would be Wi-Fi or WiMAX. These are two ways that you can tap into the internet via a wireless router. Wi-Fi can travel up to 300 feet. WiMAX can travel up to 30 miles, which is crazy to me to think that it can go 30 miles. I mean, then people in rural areas would definitely be able to have it. Wi-Fi is widely used, and there are many places you can get internet through hotspots. I know, like, you go to McDonald's or Starbucks or wherever, everybody's pretty much got free internet nowadays. WiMAX can be used two ways, in a fixed point to multi-point version and in a mobile version. Okay, there's another type of broadband called BPL, or broadband over power line, and it's just like how they do it in the cable line, except for they're choosing to do it through the power. This concept really hasn't caught on. Some people do use it, but basically the way people use it right now is just to boost their Wi-Fi signal in their home. Alright, so now we're going to dive into types of home networks. Due to changes in technology, home networks are now possible and not limited to big organizations. I know that we use them in our home. We have everything on our Wi-Fi. We have all our televisions, our Chromecast, our laptops, our PS4, everything's in a network here at our house. So, it's cost effective. It's not expensive. It takes about $30 in a router. You can get a wired network or a wireless network. So wired networks are kind of the more traditional Ethernet network, and it can transmit up to 100 megabytes per second, or you can get gigabit Ethernet, which transmits up to 1 gigabytes. So home networks are so popular now that new developers are wiring their houses to be network ready. Now, you can have wired and wireless networks together in your home. So phone lines are great for use in home networking, as said before, but they don't disrupt bandwidth and they don't interfere with phone use, which is a different thing, because cable internet, you put cable internet in a whole neighborhood, and all the people are using that cable internet, and it makes the bandwidth go down, and then your internet slows down. Wireless home networking is currently the most popular type of home network. As I mentioned before, it's a mixture of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Zigbee. Now, Zigbee is a new thing to me. I never really heard of Zigbee before. It's a wireless mesh technology that doesn't require a central control unit. And I have supplied a link here if you're curious about Zigbee, if you don't use it already and understand it. And honestly, wireless mesh technology looks like, to me, the future of free internet. And I really didn't know much about it until today, and all of the free internet projects that are out there in other countries that use it. Okay, so we're going to talk about Wi-Fi transmission protocols. In 1999, Wi-Fi, which is wireless Ethernet, was born, and it was protocol IEEE 802.11b, and they decided to call it Wi-Fi because who's going to go around saying all these things? All right, so in 2001, they upgraded it, and it was able to go 40 megabytes per second instead of 11. And then by the time 2009 came around, it was able to go 140 megabytes per second. And today, we're at a 1.3 gigabyte per second transmission speed, and the hope for the future is to get a 7 gigabyte per second transmission speed. Okay, let's talk a second about wireless security. Wireless security comes in two varieties, and hopefully all of us have some sort of password or some protection on our Wi-Fi. There's two ways you can go about it. There's the wired equivalent privacy, or the Wi-Fi protected access, the WPA. The WEP is a weaker choice. It's totally hackable. The WPA has a 128-bit encryption, and it fixes those flaws. So the WPA is better. Use a password and protect your network. Okay, let's talk about Bluetooth. Bluetooth devices are able to talk to each other through a short range of up to 10 meters. Bluetooth technology has been upgrading, and there are versions 4.1 and 4.2 currently. The main upgrades to Bluetooth are to make it use less power and become smaller. So that's basically what we want for our technology, is to get more powerful and smaller, so we're not lugging all this stuff around with us. So, home networks, wireless. Wireless homes will use multiple forms of wireless technology to gain a satisfactory result. So, basically, like I said before, it's very common for people to mix together their wired and their wireless technology. So they have, maybe some computers are actually hooked into the Ethernet, and some computers are just running straight off the Wi-Fi. Okay, now let's get into one of the more controversial subjects, and this slide you should pay attention to because it's going to be in my question at the end, and it's about net neutrality. Net neutrality is the idea that content on the internet should be treated as equal no matter the source, so that users may get to it without having to pay. Now, that means that free content stays free. It doesn't mean that you don't have to pay for services or anything. However, it means that all the stuff that content developers put out on the internet is treated as equal, and that the people that own the bandwidth are not allowed to slow that content down to get them to pay to speed it up, which they're capable of doing. And there is the biggest current example of that is Netflix. They have so much content out there that takes up a lot of bandwidth, and so Comcast, as the bandwidth provider, was slowing it down or not letting it go by as fast as it should be if it was equal to everything else on the internet. And basically, in the end, Netflix, who is a big proponent of net neutrality, paid them to let their content come through real clear. And in the end, we paid for it as users, because I know my Netflix bill went from $10 to $14 real quick. And until today, I really didn't understand why. I just thought that they wanted more money. So net neutrality is a big thing where we want to keep our stuff cost effective, and everybody deserves to have the same bandwidth, or do they? It's kind of the freedom of speech debate of our generation. So that's net neutrality. Remember that for the question. Okay, broadband issues. There are some nationally recognized broadband issues, such as the National Broadband Plan and Connect America Fund and white space use. These are three issues that the book cites. The National Broadband Plan is something that President Obama had cited in his national address in 2014, and it's where we want American schools to have broadband internet so that they can do their research and everything that they need. The Connect America Fund is basically that surcharge that you get on your phone and your internet and all that, those services. That's going into a pot of money that is about $4.5 billion annually. And that money is supposed to go to reaching out and getting people in rural areas internet. So white space is using white space would be tapping into the unused frequencies that are out there. Okay, so kind of back to internet penetration rates, some statistics. America ranks 15th, and we have in our country a 32% penetration rate, which is kind of low to me. Korea has a 26.8% rate, Japan has a 21.3% rate, and all over the world, 365 million people have broadband service. The most popular type of broadband is DSL, and the broadband industry is a $45 billion industry, which is very big. Okay, so we're going to revisit a couple issues. The spectrum auctions and usage-based pricing. This goes along with net neutrality because spectrum auctions and white space. So spectrum auctions are where those bandwidth is out there and it's not being used by radio stations or cable companies or whatever, what have you. And the FCC approaches them and says, hey, you have this bandwidth, you could sell it. This is probably how much money you're going to make for it. Do you want to sell it? And they say yay or nay. And then once that's reclaimed, then we have more to sell to other people. Now, usage-based pricing goes hand in hand with net neutrality, because if we have a neutral net and everything is equal, and Comcast, example, can't charge Netflix to pass through their bandwidth, and everybody passes through equally, then they're going to want to make money somehow. So they're going to start charging us for how much data we download instead. So either they're going to try and charge the business, or they're going to try to charge us. If you want to work in the broadband industry, you're probably going to work in development jobs, creating, repairing, maintaining software and hardware, or you're going to work in creating content that runs on broadband. YouTube, professional instructional videos, being in television and movie industry. I mean, tons. I mean, it's endless. Actually, I think that in our culture, we're running towards broadband with open arms. So, everything that we're creating now is kind of in this industry, because you have to keep in mind that it's probably going to end up on the internet, either in advertising or in instructional videos, how to use it or how to work it or what have you. But I think that the jobs in this industry, if you're talking about content development, are endless. And you're talking about development are endless too, because even cars that drive themselves, or refrigerators that know your food is going bad, lights that know when to come up and go down, those kinds of window curtains that know when to open and shut. I mean, these are pretty amazing things. So that's where I ask, we have all these awesome things that are happening. How far off from the Jetsons are we? It gets him ready, shoves him out the door, and flies him to work. Alright, so here's the big one. My question to you. Alright, we're going to talk about net neutrality, and this is a two-part question. So what is your stance on net neutrality? Do you feel that content deliverers should have to pay the virtual toll to get content to the end user? Also, do you think end users should have to pay per the amount of data they use, whether or not net neutrality is in effect? I look forward to seeing your answers. Thank you so much for watching my video, and Godspeed in your classes for your degree. Thank you.